Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you're listening to this. Welcome to Westview podcast. And today we are talking about All Are Welcome Wednesdays, which is a weekly gathering that we are planning to start October 4th. And I have Charlie here with me.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. Are you excited to talk about All Our Welcome Wednesdays?
I'm going to be once we start going.
Awesome. Okay.
We're recording early in the morning here, so I'm in that sort of place.
We all know how you feel about mornings.
So we're not doing community All Our Welcome Wednesdays in the morning. That's the good news.
Yeah, and the good news is Charlie will be in a much better headspace when we do have them.
Yeah.
It's good news. All right, so we wanted to talk today about All Our Welcome Wednesdays and what it's going to look like, what the vision is behind it, give you some more information. We've been talking about it on Sunday mornings, but obviously we can't go into as much detail as we'd like while we're up there in the front, or we would have you guys sitting there for a long time. So Charlie and I want to get into things a little bit more in depth. And so here we go. Let's talk first, Charlie, about the vision behind All Our Welcome Wednesdays. Why are we doing this thing?
Well, we're in a interesting time here in the life of the church, coming out of COVID. So people are still coming out of isolation in that sense. And also in the last, I don't know, since COVID, I know there's been a lot of new people at the church, which is great. But all of that has kind of brought us to a place where we are a church that has a good amount of people that show up on Sunday for the service, and even more people that tune in online, which again is good. But our first line of our mission statement is to be a community, and coming together to worship and to hear the word of God, as important as that is, that by itself doesn't, that's not community. That can lead to community and help foster community, but there needs to be actual interaction for people to grow in community. So with a desire to be true to our mission and to God's mission, the Word of God, and seeing how important that is to God, that the family of God is that, a family, we started thinking and praying about, well, what can we be doing to see that? Yeah. So that's pretty much that was the motivations behind the conversations that led to this All Are Welcome Wednesday.
Yeah, we have the benefit of standing up on stage and looking out to the whole congregation when we're doing whatever we're doing on stage and seeing these faces. And I've been at Westview for 7 years now, and like you said, like there's so many new faces that I feel like I don't know, and I don't have the opportunity on a Sunday to meet everyone and to have meaningful conversations. And so this is something that I'm excited about, is just building relationships through All Our Welcome Wednesdays and getting to know those people that I see their faces Sunday to Sunday and don't necessarily know.
Yeah, we want to get past the phrase I used earlier today was being nominally connected, meaning you come to church and you kind of know some people, and some people that come to church, they don't know really anyone. But for a lot of people, you kind of know the faces, but you don't really know them in any deep, meaningful sense. And we want to get to that point.
Yeah, go from connected to community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, Sundays can be great for a lot of things. And some people really get to know one another on Sundays, in after church conversation and such. But Sundays are a lot of small talk, which some people like, some people hate. Yeah. And what we want on All Our Welcome Wednesdays is to, again, get past that and to real meaningful conversation. But at the same time, that takes a little bit of, well, really what it takes is God and the Holy Spirit, of how we're trusting that, because, you do that wrongly and you can make people uncomfortable, in the sense of, we don't want to throw people into groups and say, okay, talk about your biggest fear. It's like, what? It's what I'm trying to say is it's not easy to just go from not really knowing people to having real meaningful conversation. But we're really moving forward on this, trusting that God is in it, and he is going to bless our efforts, and we're actually going to see real community and real friendships grow and blossom.
Yeah, we're just really hoping that we can build relationships and see this as a foundation for what God has for us moving forward as far as ministry. A lot of ministry is relationship based, and if we don't have good relationships, we can't do good ministry.
That's right.
Yeah. Cool. So let's move in a little bit to how the evening is going to work, how we see that happening.
So something that I will say at this point, we're trusting God and we're moving forward with a vision that is becoming more and more clear as we get closer, and we're trusting that it's going to become more clear when it's time to launch. And even when we do launch, I'm imagining that things will continue to become more clear and we'll make changes and adjustments. So what you're going to hear now is not a perfect, crystal clear idea of what is going to happen on Wednesdays. But right now, in my mind, this is what I imagine taking place. You show up on Wednesday. Maybe it's your first time.
At 6:30.
6:30. Show up, and there's someone who is there at greeting you or at the welcome desk, and they say, so glad that you're here. Go grab a plate and grab some food and just head over to the gym. And so right away there'll be food, and in the gym there will be round tables. That's an important element of this night is round tables that fostering discussion. And you and maybe if you came with your family, kids, if you got them, go sit down at the round table. There'll be a couple other families at the table or some individuals, and you'll be sitting and eating, and in the middle of the table there might be some cards that you can grab, like, pick up a card, and it might have like something that would maybe a question for the table. At this point, what we're trying to create is conversation. Just once more, get to know each other. Perhaps you could call it icebreaker conversations. This is just one thing that might take place as you're sitting at your round table, eating together, getting to know people. And the purpose with those little cards is we want to guide your conversations a little bit, because for some people to just sit down at a table when you don't know the other people and it's like, so what do you do? For some people that's fine, but for other people that's the sort of small talk that we want to get past. So some sort of guided conversation at these round tables, perhaps going on in the gym also. Some of the times might be someone sharing a testimony. Sometimes there might be some sort of game happening during the mealtime, some sort of trivia. I mean, these are some of the details that we're still working out. And also, we don't want it to be always the same every week. Right. So it could be a little different one week, but probably the thing that would be the same is when you get there, you're going to be welcomed, and it's going to, go grab some food and sit at a round table. That's going to be probably the first half of most nights. At some point, then we will kind of transition to the second part of the evening, which again is not always going to be the same. But a lot of the times it might be something where, the kids go to the rooms where we have some children's stuff going on. And I apologize for just saying the phrase children's stuff, because I realize that's pretty general.
Let me just say, we're calling it All Are Welcome Wednesdays because it's not just an adult program where we have babysitting for anyone who has kids.
Thank you.
It's there are programs happening for all age groups on this night, because we want everyone in, like, no matter how old you are, from baby all the way to, you know, the oldest adult in our congregation or in our community, to find meaningful connection with each other. So this is a part of a bigger philosophy that we have this year called the Year of Community, where we are looking at every ministry and looking at how we can build relationships and build community within each ministry. So this is a massive thing that we're doing. It's not the only thing we're doing for the Year of Community, and we'll probably tell you more about that later as well. But yeah, just to say that this is an intentional time for every age group, children's ministry, youth ministry, adult ministry, to build relationships.
Thanks. Yeah, so the second half of the evening transition, the children will go to the children's programs, the intentional children's programs. And the youth, so the teenagers, would probably stay in the gym. At this point, the round tables may or may not get moved out of the gym depending on what the youth are doing on that particular Wednesday night. The adults would probably go into the sanctuary, but not in the same manner that you might see on a Sunday. We really want to keep things kind of in those like round table style groups. Our dream is actually to flatten the sanctuary so we can actually get round tables in there, but that's a future dream.
It's a side note.
That's a side note. But so for the second half of the night, you're in the sanctuary, but again, a big goal of All Are Welcome Wednesdays is that it is a night of interaction. It's not a night of just coming and sitting and listening.
It's not recreating church from Sunday to
That's
Wednesday.
Right. And here's something we heard this morning. Someone said their hope of All Are Welcome Wednesdays is that it's not churchy. And I would say an amen to that. We don't want it to feel churchy. Someone even asked, like, are we going to have like worship? And it might surprise you to hear typically not in the sense of, okay, everyone stand together and let's all sing together. Typically we're not going to have that. And part of the reason is, well, we do that on Sundays for one, so it is important to us, but the whole idea of All Are Welcome Wednesdays, I know that when people first visit a church or come, if they're not part of that culture or part of that, if they're not Christians, if this is new to them, that can actually be the most uncomfortable part of the experience. And the whole aspect of being all are welcome means we want people to actually feel welcome. And so I know for some people it's like, what? You're not going to worship? We do worship. It's important to us, but that's not a major goal or even a goal of the Wednesday nights, not that kind of worshiping. With that being said, we're really excited about having people come and share their gifts. Yeah. So I would love to have, hey, so-and-so is going to sing a song at this point, you know, and maybe we'll put the lyrics on the screen because they're meaningful for people just to hear and listen to. So-and-so is going to share maybe a poem that they wrote. So-and-so is going to share a story of something that happened recently in their life, or maybe a short story that they wrote. Ways for people to just share just gifts that God has given them with the understanding that culture and art are things that are important to us. So one more thing on that. Something I'm looking forward to is we are blessed to have a church made up of lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds and cultures. And I would love to have a part of All Our Welcome Wednesdays involving people sharing some of the food from, you know, the cultures that they've come from. So I've been talking for a while about how this is going to look. And what you're probably seeing is kind of a foggy vision, because for us it's also a foggy vision. But what I hope that you're hearing is really understanding the values and the vision for this night, rather than the clear program of how everything is gonna play out.
Yeah. So we've been talking in kind of like big strokes. So we have the meal portion
Yep.
with a lot of connection and community
Yep.
building happening. Then we have programming, again, with a lot of conversation and connection and community building happening. So that's the theme of what we're doing. And it's kind of in two different components. But what those individual components look like are going to change from
That's right.
from week to week. Not because we're, distracted or whatever, but we just want to intentionally change it up so that it doesn't get stale, it doesn't get boring, and we're giving people opportunities to connect with new people. One of the things that we really value at Westview is having intercultural and intergenerational connection, and so we're going to encourage people to mix up. But if there are people who are like, I am terrified of not having the two people that I know with me, that's okay too. We're not going to control who's sitting at what table. So if you have a group of friends you want to sit with from time to time just to maintain that connection, that's okay with us. But we do want to encourage as well serving and also branching out to who you know and making new friends.
That's a great point. That tension between, I want to be with the people that I'm starting to get to know and get to know them deeper and be comfortable with the people that I know. We want to foster that and encourage that while at the same time challenging people to kind of get out of the circles that they know and get to know other people. The other thing that I'll say is that first half where you're eating together and there might be like a trivia game or, light conversation, but not small talk, but light conversation. The second half, the idea would be to go a little deeper, where in the second half, one of the things I imagine that we will often do is you'll hear like a 5-minute recap of what we talked about on Sunday with some discussion questions for everyone to talk about. And we would do it in a way where even if someone wasn't there on Sunday, they don't feel alienated or lost. They could just jump in. But at the same time, it might be an encouragement for people to be part of the Sunday worship also. And I also think about some of the conversations that we've had recently at church that I think have really made people hungry for this type of interaction, specifically conversations we had about the spiritual gifts. I know people have a lot of curiosities, and they're things that people have lots of questions and thoughts about, where I think some of those conversations I look forward to revisiting in those, community roundtable small group discussions that I imagine happening at our All Are Welcome Wednesdays.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our philosophy about this whole thing and how it's kind of an experiment we're doing.
Yeah.
Because like we said, we have an idea of how it's going to work. We don't necessarily know all of the details of everything that's going to happen. And the reason for that is that this is a new thing that we're doing. This isn't something Westview has done before. It's not very common in churches around us as well, to our knowledge. And so we are figuring it out as we go. And this is a God-sized vision. When we first came up with this idea, once we had kind of gotten it on the whiteboard, we all kind of just stared at it wide-eyed as a staff. We were just
Totally
like,
true.
Okay, now what? And it's a big undertaking. And so we've been talking about how we need everyone to serve. We need everyone to be involved. And that's one thing. But it's something that we're going to have to try things and refine and realize what didn't work. And so we need everyone to have grace for each other in this. And we also need feedback, because if we don't know that something's not working and no one tells us, then we're never going to know, and we're going to keep going down the same path maybe for something that's not working. And so we want this to work. We want this to be what our church needs. We're not just being like, the pastors are smart and we decided this idea was what was going to happen and we're just sticking to it. We want to make sure that it serves the needs of our people. And so this is a big component that we're going to need feedback, but we're going to need grace that this is an experiment, and we're going to have to tweak it, and we're going to have to you theorize. I'm not really a scientist, but you theorize, and then you have to change things according to what you're seeing in the experiment to get the outcome that you want.
Absolutely. That is funny, because that is totally what happened, in the sense of, as a staff team, we're kind of trying to figure out what the church really needs, and when we realized it was this weekly meal all church involved night. This feeling of like, oh no, if God's not in this is going to be a huge failure.
Yeah. This is something God's going to have to accomplish, and he's going to use all of us to accomplish it.
Yeah. Yep. But I have in my head just this picture of evenings here at Westview just bursting with life, with people and kids running around, and maybe there's a little bit of messiness, but not chaos. It's just like almost like
It's family.
Like we got a bunch of family coming over our house, and it's exciting, and it's I don't know. Yeah, it's family. It's a, like I say, it's a foggy vision, but it's a vision of life, and it's a vision of like, I want to be part of this, and I want to invite other people because it's something that people are actually going to want.
Yeah.
Something we realize is that in our given culture, people don't feel a desire for church. I mean, I would argue that we need church and it satisfies us, but it's not a felt need. It's not something that people are thinking like, oh, I feel dissatisfied in life. I feel discontent in life. I know what I need, church. Like, that's just not happening. But people are realizing, hey, I'm really not satisfied in life. I need some friends. I need a community. Like, that's something that people are feeling. So this is an opportunity to really meet people where they're at, and serve a need, and also to be the church, because that is an enormous aspect of what Jesus is trying to do. Not just create individuals who know him and believe in him and serve him, but to create a body, a family.
Yeah. So like I said, we're starting October 4th. That means we have about 2 months before we're up and running. And what we need is for you to keep sending in questions, because the more the tires are kicked before we get this thing going, then the more answers that we can have and be prepared for, all eventualities. One of the things that we're looking at is having a homework room for those in high school that are like, or college, who are maybe, can't come because I have homework. And it's like, well, you can build community and do homework together. Maybe in the very room that we're sitting in right now. But yeah, we're trying to like meet as many of the objections and obstacles as we can. And so the more that people ask questions, the more we can make sure that we're prepared for that. I thought that I would just go through the service roles that we need help with. Just really quickly so that you can get an idea of what those are. And I'm reading directly from the sign-up form that we have. So first, we have a meal setup and tear down team. So that is the team that is going to help with setting up dishes, with helping to set up food, setting up the food and clearing the tables and tearing down stuff after the meal. We also have a meal team. So that's going to be different teams of people that are coordinating the cooking of the meal for the evening. It's not going to be a potluck every week. Next, we have a kitchen serving cleanup team. So that's obviously working in the kitchen and doing all of the washing up of dishes as they get returned into the kitchen and other cleanup tasks. We have hospitality, and that's the greeting. That's what Charlie was saying about, you come in and someone's like, welcome, we're glad you're here, grab a plate. And so especially for the new people, knowing where to go and knowing what the flow of the program is going to be, having a team of people who are available to answer questions is going to be really important there. We also have our kids teams and our youth teams. Like we said, we're having kids and youth programming, and so we need people to participate in those. And those are teams that you will not automatically be able to sign up for. You need a background check, and you need to be selected because that's a pretty highly specialized team. But Pastor Jeff Day will be working on that and getting everyone the information they need. So we do have a form. You can access it through our website on our front page. You can access it, I believe, on Facebook, and we need everyone to sign up for something. Our goal is for you to have to serve once every 4 weeks, so once out of the month, so that we have a rotation of people that are not just the same teams serving week to week to week and never being able to participate as a result. So that's why we need so many people, because 4 teams is a lot of teams.
And this is something that I see when it comes to the fact that we need a lot of help. Community very often happens when people are serving together.
Yeah.
I don't see the long list of volunteers needed as simply an obstacle, but as an opportunity.
It's part of community building for sure.
Is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you get involved with All Are Welcome Wednesdays pretty early on in the game, we're going to hope that we can find a place for you, to start serving.
Absolutely. And like you said, we're trying to build family here, and families, you have to pitch in.
That's how it works.
You have to vacuum the floor sometimes.
Yeah.
For your mom.
And something else I'll say is, right now we are planning 6:30 to 8:30.
Yeah.
If it's a situation where every week earliest you could get here is 7, then you get here at 7. If every week you have to leave at 8 o'clock, then you leave at 8 o'clock, and that's fine. We want you to be a part of this in any way that you can.
And if the evening ends at 8:30 and you want to hang out with some people,
that's right,
and continue the conversation, you're welcome to do that as well.
And I'll let anyone know right away that the young adults will have an after party happening every Wednesday afterwards. So if you fit that category of young adult, which probably
access your inner young adult.
Yeah. You can be part of that.
That's not an open invitation for everyone, right?
Not quite.
Maybe we'll have multiple after parties if the need arises.
Young is a relevant term.
Yeah,
relative term. Yeah.
That's good. Well, Charlie, do you have anything else you want to say? Any last thoughts?
I will have more thoughts, but we'll save that for podcast part 2. Awesome.
So let us know your questions. Feel free to have conversations with any of the staff about it. We're all very excited. And we hope that you join us for this, and that you are part of it, and that you find family with us. And we will talk to you later.